Baker Mayfield in a second. But first, check out Royce O'Neal just destroying Tony Parker here.
Hey, Tony, learn from Larry Nance. You got to stop the game to point to a wet spot that doesn't exist and make them clean it up. That's what you do when you fall down in the NBA these days.
Hey, Deontay, don't pull no more highlights unless my boy Donovan Mitchell's on there. The rookie of the year, man. Don't pull no Utah highlights.
The rookie of the year played in this game.
Then we got Robert Covington throwing it down in transition.
Big Bob Covington gets the dunk. Joel Embiid gets the stare down and yell at Michael Beasley. Bob Covington's one of the guys they found when they were doing the full process thing. He's turned himself into a hell of a player.
Yeah, Beasley's on his own planet. Bees, don't do that. Bees, don't go for that.
And finally, check out this game-stealing steal and dunk from Zach LaVine.
Man, so this was an odd game because the Bulls and the Magic, they're both in the Tankapalooza 2018, gunning for that #1 pick. Neither one of these teams wanted to win this game, but Zach LaVine wanted to win this game. Man, how do you have that inbounds pass in a tie game with 13 seconds left, man?
Beautiful, man. Moving on now to the NFL draft. Now, there are several prominent QBs being considered for the first round in April. But according to Pro Football Focus, Baker Mayfield is the, quote, head and shoulders above the rest of the class. Now, the Heisman winner completed more than 70% of his passes for over 330 yards per game last season at Oklahoma. So, Cris Carter, does all this mean he's going to be a great pro or what?
I don't care what Pro Football Focus thinks. Cris Carter thinks he's going to be a good pro.
Okay.
Like, and if Baker Mayfield, if he was 6'2", or if he was 6'3", what would people be saying about him?
Consensus #1 pick.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's a matter of his height. Well, they say, well, it's off the field. Does he have the Johnny Manziel thing?
I've been hearing that comparison a lot.
Yeah, but Baker and what he's been involved in compared to Johnny Manziel, they're two totally different stories. We also just had Johnny Manziel come out and said that he has battled with being bipolar. He's not only battled with some alcohol addiction and some drug abuse, but being bipolar, that is a serious issue for him, and to be able to come to grips with that and trying to be a professional ball player. So I think Baker, he will get lumped in with the Manziels because of his off the field, his incident this off season with the police. Yes, those things are real. You don't want your franchise quarterback to be those things, but he's done everything on the field. He handles the offense, calling the plays. He can throw the ball to any portion of the football field. And I don't believe he's a system quarterback because you can see the quality of the throws. He can throw the ball deep on the sideline, deep down the field. He can throw the bubble screens. I don't believe that he is like a lot of the other quarterbacks from these systems where they run this, the RPOs, it doesn't transition to the NFL. I believe that Baker Mayfield is one of the few that it does transfer to the National Football League.
And to your point, Johnny Manziel on record saying, yes, I have a relationship or friendship with Baker, but we are two different men and two different players.
Well, and they're off the field. I don't want to say forget, but Johnny had a much more tattered off the field resume than Baker did. And Johnny's, by the way, on field resume was not nearly as good. I know they both won the Heisman. Baker Mayfield, it had 3 top 5 Heisman finishes.
Yes.
Think about that. 3 years in a row, he was one of the 5 best players in the sport.
And you have to look to the players who won the Heisman and the type of stats that he lost out to.
Additionally, Baker Mayfield in 2017, this past year, set the all-time college quarterback efficiency record. You know whose record he broke? His own from 2016. And now I'm going to do something, CC, I think you're going to like here. Your old friend Bill Parcells. He's got 7 rules for drafting a quarterback. I'm going to tell the audience what they are. Does he have 3 years as a starter? Is he a senior? Did he graduate? Did he start 30 games? Did he win at least 23 games? Touchdown interception ratio of at least 2 to 1, and a completion percentage over 60. Sam Darnold has 2 of 7 yeses.
Yep.
Josh Rosen has 2 of 7 yeses. Josh Allen has 3 of 7. Lamar Jackson has 4 of 7. Baker Mayfield, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 7. So that is not gospel, but that is noteworthy.
Now you didn't do that for me, but I liked it.
Okay, no problem. Absolutely. Now, about his size. I feel like you have been a Baker Mayfield believer ever since before the Ohio State game. When you went and talked to him and you shook his hand.
Yes.
And you're big on how a guy is put together. Right, so
it's pretty important.
He's 6'1.5" so his height wasn't going to impress you. But you you're not as concerned about his durability as you are some other smaller quarterbacks. Why?
Yeah, because his body, he's not built. His shoulders aren't as narrow as RG3. He has more girth. I'm talking, he has good weight through his midsection, the way you want quarterbacks like Brett Favre. Not that they're fat. It's just that you can tell that they've trained their body for physical contact. It becomes very, very important in the league when you're already small. Look at Russell Wilson. Look how wide his shoulders are. Look at the girth he has. His ability to be able to extend plays. Baker Mayfield has all those same attributes, and just like Russell, there are windows that he'll be able to see through to be able to throw the football. He has a great throwing motion. He's got a quick release. Of course, he's got to work from being under center because he's used to being in the shotgun. But from a physical standpoint, there are guys like him, he's physically more imposing than Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees is put together, and he works really hard. So he is a small guy that's able to play a big man's game.
I love that comparison to Russell Wilson there. As well, going back to the Baker, the Johnny Manziel comparison, I like Johnny being a cautionary tale for Baker, perhaps learning some of the lessons that Johnny had to learn the very hard way. And if he uses it that way and uses it as an example as to what not to do when you get the opportunity to play at the professional level, I think it'll serve him well.
And we also know this. NFL GMs and scouts pick and choose which players they're going to let off-field concerns bother them with. And Baker Mayfield, just call it a hunch. Baker Mayfield is not a guy that is going to get as many character concern flags as some other quarterbacks of a similar style that maybe either went to a different school or maybe look a little differently than him.
There is no doubt.
He's going to get more leeway than a lot of quarterbacks his size and his
in particular
skill set.
If Lamar Jackson had the same record,
he's not a first-round pick.
Yeah, well, he would have gotten away from the police, too.
Okay, so with that, apparently,
he runs the daylight now. I'm just saying, Baker tried 1, 2, 3, it didn't work.
Coming up on that note, is it time for Lonzo to finally say something about his yapping father,
Are they trying to
LeVar?
arrest me? 1, 2, 3, oh,
That's next on First Things First.
No way. Oh, God.
They're not picking.